Hi there and welcome. My name's Simon from cramtheexam.com and this is week 8, day 5 of your preparation for your English exam, whether it's the FCE CAE or Matura Advanced. Today I'm going to break down the part 4 question in the speaking test. This is, I'm sure you know the structure of the speaking test well. You've done part 3, which is the discussion, and now part 4 is all about expanding, giving you an individual chance and possible chance for a further discussion on aspects which are related to the part 3 question. And this is a really important part of the exam because there's a lot of time given to this part of the exam, and it's really a chance for you to show off your individual skills at the beginning and allow you to go in depth to discover and explore a subject, giving your opinions, talking about pros and cons, looking at different sides of the issue, thinking about related issues, really giving you a chance to basically do your thing. If you want to know more detail about the Part 4 exam, then I'd strongly encourage you to look at my introductory video to the Part 4 exam, which I did a few weeks ago. If you have a look at, I think it's week 4, day 5, I break down the Part 4 question in more detail, what it's about, how you can prepare for it, and so on, so on. So if you haven't checked out that video, go and check it out now, then come back to this video. So I wanted to do a video like I did last week for part 3, where I would show you the video and I would break everything down into sections. I'd talk about the good things and the bad things, but I'm going to change my mind a little bit about how to do that. And I'll explain why now. It's because if I was going to show you the videos for the FCE and CAE, and you can see a link to those videos in the video description below, and they are the continuation of the videos that we looked at last week, I would be saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, and it would be 10 minutes of me repeating myself, and that wouldn't be fun for me and it wouldn't be fun for you. So I decided to summarize my breakdown of part 4 in a slightly different way. So let's begin. Over my shoulder on the screen, you can see the Cambridge English First, and you can see down here, Handbook for Teachers for Exams from 2016. This is the book that Cambridge English makes available for download on its website, which tells teachers about the exam and how best to prepare their students for the exam. So it's Cambridge saying, this is our exam, this is how you prepare, and hopefully if you follow the rules and use your experience, your students are going to get good marks. So this is an important book for teachers, and it's also an important book for students, because students, if you study this book, you will find out about the workings of the exam, how the exam is marked, and it'll give you a lot more information about the exam. And as far as I'm concerned, the more information you have, the better prepared you'll be. And certainly my introductory videos for the speaking exam are based heavily on the information that you'll find in this book. So let's get straight to the speaking question, which I think you'll find is on page 73. So let me make this a lot bigger, and what I'll do here is I'll just scroll up to part 4. It's what we're having a look at today. It's above my head. Task type and format, a discussion on topics related to the collaborative task, spoken question. So it's related to part 3, and the topic is the same as part 3. Focus. The focus is on expressing and justifying opinions, agreeing and or disagreeing, and speculating. So what it's saying here is this part of the exam is for you to give opinions, justify them, talk to the examiner about them, and just basically show off your language skills. And that this takes 4 minutes in total. Okay, so we can take from this that the important thing is that it's your ability to speak, it's your ability to justify, it's your ability to express opinions. If we scroll on further down, you've got this section here about part 4. Here it is. Where is it? Have I scrolled past it? That's part 4. Here we go, just above my head. This part tests the candidate's ability to engage in a discussion based on the topic of the collaborative task in part 3. We've covered that already. In part 4, the interlocutor, blah, 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 blah. This part of the test, this is the important bit, this part of the test gives candidates an opportunity to show that they are capable of discussing ideas in more depth than in the earlier parts of the test. If I was going to translate that, I would say that the student now has the time to show off their English language skills to talk about something in detail. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that you need to spend time discussing an idea. What does that mean? It means that if you give someone an answer which is 20 seconds long, then you're not really, in my eyes, you're not really meeting the aim of the question. As I understand this means that a student must be able to talk for about a minute or a minute and a half or even longer about a topic in order to answer this question properly. And if you think about it, if someone asks you an opinion-based question, then it's not difficult really to speak for more than 30 seconds. You can talk for some topics for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even longer. I mean, if you have a general question about the environment, then you could go on for 20 minutes, or at least I could. If you had a general question about health, about technology, about whatever it might be, you could go on for minutes and minutes and minutes. And that's the idea of the question, for you to go on and go on and go on and go on. Now, how do you prepare for this? You've got this section here on preparation. It says here, working in pairs and small groups, students, make sure the students are familiar with the format of the test. This is what I'm doing with you now. Encourage your students to speak clearly so that they can be heard by both the interlocutor and assessor. And that's important because if you watch the videos for part 4, then you'll hear that they are a little bit mumbly, that you're just speaking under the breath and you don't exactly know what they're saying. So be brave, be bold, communicate your ideas. Train your students to paraphrase when they do not know or cannot remember a word. And this is important. If you have a look at the FCE part 4, it was the blonde girl from Holland who got into a little bit of difficulty. This is at the beginning of part 4. She takes a breath and then continues. It was an excellent recovery strategy. She was thinking, I'm panicking. Okay, quick breath, regain my thoughts, off I go. It was a really, really good recovery strategy. Train your students to listen carefully to the instructions so they know precisely what to talk about. Okay, fair enough. And then you've said that's not so important. Encourage your students to initiate discussion and respond to what other people have to say. So this is quite close to the skills in part 3. What do you think about this? I think this. What do you think about this? So it's a very, very similar skill set. Okay, let's go on to further preparation. How do you prepare for part 4? Here it is. And this is the key piece of information. I'll just make this a bit bigger and drag this across a little bit so you can see it. Here we go. Oh, maybe it's a little bit too big there. Okay. Encourage your students to give full answers to the questions. They can do this by keeping useful question words in their head. For example, why, how, when, where. If when answering a question, students also respond to related question words like these, they will give full contributions. Here, keyword, full contributions. Not 20 seconds of speaking, not 30 seconds of speaking, a minute or more of discussion, of contribution to the topic. For example, in response to a question following part 3 on the subject of holidays, students could be asked, would you like to go on a holiday like this? Students could answer yes, giving the reasons why they would like to go on a particular holiday, when they would like to go, where they would like to go, and so on. The question why is useful for nearly all part 4 questions, etc., etc., etc. So you've got to, in that discussion, you've got to ask yourself the question, why? And if you go back to my original video on part 4, I think I put there, ask yourself why, or play why. Ask yourself all the time, how can you develop this? How can you develop this? How can you develop this? Because this is the part in the exam in order to do this. Let your students practice each other asking for opinions. I'm sure you've got plenty of opinions. And then let's see. And this is also important here at the end. Remind your students that there are no right answers to the questions and candidates will not be judged on their opinions, only on the language they use to express their opinions. So 2 important things here. Doesn't matter what you say, as long as you say it well. So make stuff up. Make stuff up if you have to, okay? You don't have to communicate your personally held beliefs and views. Make it up. Secondly, if you don't show the language to express your opinions, you're not going to score well on part 4. So it says here, it is okay for you to say that you don't know much about it, but you can still speculate, you can still hypothesize, you can still think, you can still invent contexts in which to discuss a topic, and that's a skill perhaps that you need to learn. If we have a look at the Cambridge English, the Advanced Teacher's Handbook, we can see that it's pretty much the same thing. Over my head, here it says you've got 5 minutes to do this. In the FCE, it was 4 minutes. For the CAE, you got 5 minutes. And then you've got similar instructions for part 4. Let me scroll down here. After doing a part 3 test, okay, that's not particularly useful there. Tell your students they're not being assessed on their ideas, so we've covered that already. Encourage your students to listen to each other's responses to questions to part 4 and join in to develop a discussion if it's appropriate. Okay, you don't see that much of that in part 4. You see in the videos. In the CAE question, you see that there are 2 discussion questions and that the discussion happens naturally, particularly the second discussion question, which was a really, really good answer from both of the candidates. But neither of the individual questions did the other candidate jump in to interrupt. So this requires some training and some skill to get this right. Let's see if there's anything else. And then the rest is all about general advice about how to prepare for the part 4 question. So the main points I want to cover are: this is a chance for you to show off your skills. You can only show off your skills if you talk clearly, so the examiner can understand. And in order to fully discuss the subject, express opinions, you need to be able to listen to, react, and then speak about a question for a minute or so. So you need to practice these things. Giving short answers is not answering part 4, at least in my eyes, correctly. So let's go back to the videos. Now, maybe I'm being a little bit unfair, and that's a justified criticism. And if you think I'm being unfair, then leave a comment below and I'll engage in that discussion with you. But as a teacher, this is how I would communicate to my students how to improve their skills and how to hopefully get the best possible marks that they could for part 4. Have a look over my shoulder. Over my shoulder, you'll see how the part 4 speaking question for the FCE is broken down in terms of time. So you can see the time at which each question is asked. You can see the time that the other person gets to respond to that same question. So you've got first question, then you've got first question, second person, second question, second person, second question, first person, second question, second person, so on, so on, so on. And you can see that there's a first question, second question, third question, discussion question, individual questions. And if you have a look at the timings, you can see that there are no timings which go on for more than 30 seconds, I think. Let me just have a look at my notes right down here. And I'm having a look at my notes and I'm struggling to see anything which goes above 30 seconds. Even the discussions are less than 30 seconds. Yes, 12:18, 12:40, 13:25. So 40 seconds the second discussion went on for. This is far too short, and if I was going to show you the video, then I would repeat it. I would be repeating this non-stop. Too short, too short, too short, too short. You can't discuss a topic in this time. You have to be able to speak for a minute, expressing views, expressing opinions. And you can even see, once again, go back and watch the video. This is the text that the examiner uses with the questions. And you can see here, she uses up all of the questions. She goes through them all, and this is not meant to happen. I don't think it's meant to happen. The format in the CAE is better, because for the CAE, and here is the timings for the CAE, it's a little bit better. I would argue that they're still too short, particularly for the individual questions. And the first discussion question was maybe a little bit too short, but the second discussion question was excellent. This was probably what saved the exam for both of the students. There was lots of backwards and forwards. There was actually a discussion taking place. There was a development of ideas. It was very, very nice to watch, and it was very, very natural. And I'm sure the examiners were probably thinking, "Thank God for this," because the initial answers were a little bit too short, and I don't think they ticked all of the boxes from the point of view of part 4. So a nice way to end off the exam. And you can see the script behind me here, that they didn't get anywhere near through all the possible questions. And so from my point of view, this is a little bit more of a success. So I would be quite critical of the part 4 videos that I watch, but I don't want to just say it's all bad, because there were lots of good things as well. I mentioned that there was that recovery from the girl from Holland in the FCE video who had a moment of difficulty, and that she recovered excellently well. Brilliant. And if you get into trouble, I would recommend take a short breath, 2 seconds, regain your thoughts, start again, or use that 2 or 2 seconds to think about a different way of saying that. There was a nice little technique employed in both the FCE video by this girl from Argentina and also in the CAE video, which is a repetition of language that the other person said. So one person said something, and then the other person repeated exactly the same word and then said yes, yes. Now, this is a little bit like a get out of jail card. The good thing about this is that it is natural, and it encourages you to then develop your own ideas, whether you're agreeing or disagreeing or something like this. So sometimes in order to start speaking, you just need a little bit of help, a little push. And sometimes repeating what the other person said and continuing is a good way to do this. The end of the CAE Part 4 video was very good, I've mentioned that already. And the level of vocabulary was good as well, particularly from the girl from Holland and from the CAE students as well. It was also quite good. So it's worth taking away some of the things that they come up with, particularly the girl in the CAE talked about pushy parents, which is a nice natural piece of vocabulary. So it's not all bad, there are some good things, but you've got to be able to talk for a minute. You have to. If you're only communicating like we did in the FCE, here are those timings again, this should not happen. This should not happen in part 4 of the exam. It ideally should be one question and both people have a go, second question, both people have a go, one discussion question. That would be what I would aim for. And remember the timings. In the FCE you've got 4 minutes, in the CAE you've got 5 minutes. So you've got, if we have a look at that structure for the FCE, you've got main question, the other person has a go, a second question, the other person has a go, and then you've got one discussion question. So if you break that down into 4 minutes, even that isn't much time to do all of those things. So you've got to learn, and I know that I'm repeating myself a crazy amount in this video, but it's so important. You've got to be able to practice speaking for a minute or until someone stops you. That is the aim of the part 4 thing. Of course, when you begin to do that, you might find yourself talking all kinds of nonsense. And it's why practice is so important, because you do that, you record it, you look back at yourself and you ask yourself, am I answering the question? And you do it again and you do it again and you do it again and you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice. And after you practice a number of times, you're then able to control your thoughts and link them into the question. And that way you're then communicating for a minute, making sense, answering the question and giving a full bodied answer which is exactly what the examiners are looking for. So once again, I know that I've been quite critical in this video. I tried to point out the positives as well, but if you've got any comments at all about part 4 or anything that I've said in this video, then leave a comment below and I'll be happy, as I said, to get into that discussion with you. It's Friday today, so we'll be back again on the week on Monday with another writing exercise, and we'll be back again on next Friday with the next speaking video, where I'm going to be looking at the Matura Advanced Speaking Exam and breaking down whatever resources I can find on YouTube about the Matura Advanced Speaking Exam. So I'll see you again on Monday for another writing exercise, and have a great weekend, people.